10 times the military fought sea creatures. Life and even warfare at sea have caused an unusual and hazardous relationship between humanity and nature. Over the years, the military has been confronted with many marine creatures during their operations, which has engendered admiration and dread towards our oceans. From intimate confrontations with predators to incomprehensible events which have furthered scientific knowledge, there have been times when the military battled sea creatures and times when they defended themselves. Myth and legend are not to be included in this conversation, but here are 10 authentic occurrences when the forces of the world went head-to-head with creatures of the deep. Number 10. The Gulf of Tonkin. In 1964, a confrontation between the United States and North Vietnamese warships sparked the Vietnam War. At the center of this event was the USS Maddox. On one night, 380 shells were discharged and depth charges were dropped to destroy North Vietnamese torpedo boats, although air support reported that no boats were visible. In 1966, Todd Newberry, a marine biologist, was told about the events of that night by a sonar engineer. The radar had detected objects that seemed to be torpedoes. However, they acted abnormally, as if they had their own intentions. Newberry's theory was that these were uncommon creatures known as pyrosomes. Pyrosomes are an organism comprising thousands of individuals, forming a large, transparent, and up to 60 feet, 18 meters, long, floating structure. It looks like a giant tube-shaped jellyfish without tentacles. It can be detected not only by sonar, but also by the bright light it emits, which gives it the name, pyrosome, meaning, fire body. This explains why the lights seen on the infamous evening were mistaken for those of enemy aircraft and searchlights. Number 9. USS Stein Squid Incident. In 1978, the USS Stein, a United States Navy frigate, was conducting special operations in a secret spot in the Pacific Ocean. Alas, the system which was supposed to detect submarine threats suddenly malfunctioned, and the vessel had to return to the port. Upon examination, it became evident that the sonar system had been cut with 4 feet long, 1.2 meters, slashes, with what appeared to be teeth inside the cuts. Upon closer inspection, the teeth-like structures were identified as claws from a squid suction cup. The biggest squid ever discovered by scientists measured almost 43 feet, 13 meters, and weighed over 2,000 pounds, 907 kilograms. The claws taken from the USS Stein, however, are said to have come from a squid more than 3 times as large. The research of Navy biologist F.G. Wood into the claws left open the possibility that this creature might be an unknown species new to science. It is known that sperm whales hunt the biggest species of squid, and they are often seen with deep injuries and scarring, much like the sonar system. It is quite possible that the giant squid mistook the ship for a whale, leading to a confrontation between the two. Number 8. Sharks in World War II. At the outset of World War II, the U.S. Navy's Research and Development Branch investigated shark attacks, concluding that sharks posed an insignificant danger to personnel, as they were not interested in strange objects floating in the sea. It was thought that the loud commotion of a sinking vessel would scare sharks away. The reality was that sharks had not been encountered much in earlier wars, since the naval battles of World War I were fought in cold waters, and it was only during World War II naval battles in warmer waters that sharks became a problem. In the case of Lieutenant Arthur George Redding, who survived a plane crash at sea with radioman Everett Hardin Almond in 1943, sharks were a serious issue. Reading later described how he had to use his binoculars to battle the sharks for 16 hours while trying to keep Almond afloat. Almond suffered a wound which caused a cloud of blood to fill the water, and 5 sharks tore apart his leg. Reading attempted to protect his friend by lashing out with his binoculars, but was hit by a tail, breaking his jaw and separating them. Almond eventually succumbed to the sharks and perished. Number 7. The worst shark attack in history. In 1945, the USS Indianapolis was dispatched on a mission to transport enriched uranium for the atomic bomb, Little Boy. After its assignment was accomplished, the cruiser set sail with 1,195 crew members towards the Philippines. At around midnight, it was ambushed by a Japanese submarine and sunk within 12 minutes. Of the initial crew, 300 perished in the incident, leaving the remaining 900 adrift in the open ocean. Unfortunately, their troubles had only just begun. The sound of the explosions, the smell of blood and the thrashing of the people in the water drew hundreds of sharks to the wreckage. The sharks began to prey on the dead and injured, and the survivors were faced with constant attacks from oceanic whitetip sharks for 3.5 days until they were rescued. Unfortunately, the sailors had to battle the sharks with whatever was available, and due to dehydration, exposure and some sailors opting for suicide rather than confronting the sharks, only 316 had survived when the boats of salvation came. Number 6. Military attack dolphin. Since the early 1960s, militaries have been utilizing dolphins and whales for various purposes. Through training, these marine mammals can be taught to complete a variety of tasks, such as delivering tools and detecting torpedoes and mines. Dolphins can even be instructed to yank face masks off of divers and force them to the surface. Another technique is to tag them by deploying a buoy or clamping a device on their leg so that a boat can quickly tow them away. Rumor has it that dolphins can even be fitted with a face harness that can be used to attach a variety of weapons, including bang sticks and wasp knives which inject explosive gas. Recently, Hamas provided evidence from Palestine that showed a face harness for a dolphin with a speargun attachment. They alleged that this belonged to an Israeli dolphin, which they referred to as a hostile aquatic unit, that had chased one of their divers. Number 5. UB-85 Sea Monster. On April 30, 1918, Captain Gunther Kreck and his crew were taken into custody by the British warship, the HMS Coreopsis. When interrogated, Kreck informed the British that his submarine was defective and not able to submerge, maintaining that the sub had been damaged during an altercation with a mysterious sea creature. The being was detailed as having horns, minuscule, sunken eyes, an array of enormous teeth, and a small head. The huge and peculiar-looking beast climbed onto the boat, resulting in it taking on water. The release of records has exposed the truth behind the tale of the sea monster. Gotchammer, a crew member, remembers Kretsch being cold and demanding a heater be put in the office's area. This required wiring to be run through the main hatch, which meant it could no longer be properly shut. When the British warship was sighted, they had to shut the hatch and dive, but it failed, filling the U-boat with water. This caused the sub to resurface, and the crew had to surrender, leading to the creation of the legend of the sea monster, a result of embarrassment and ineptitude. Number 4. Russian Arctic expeditions. A great deal of Russian territory is situated within the Arctic Circle, and the Northern Fleet of the Russian Navy is responsible for providing support to military and research activities in the region. If you manage to set foot on one of the islands, you'll be confronted with ravenous bears. Leonid Krugloff, a Russian journalist, recalls his expedition to Alexandra Land. The animal kept following us, not backing away at all. No matter how we shouted, fired off rockets or shot into the air, it simply ignored us. Extreme hunger has caused the bears to forget their natural fear of humans in their search for sustenance. In 2019, when the crew tried to land on another island, it wasn't bears that caused them trouble, but walruses. A large male of these animals can weigh up to 4,400 pounds or 1,995 kilograms, which is comparable to a Dodge Charger. Just as the vessel was about to reach Vilcek Island, a walrus confronted them, likely being a mother trying to guard her young. The walrus managed to climb on the boat and sink it, but the crew was near enough to the shore to make it safely. Thanks to the efficient actions of the Northern Fleet servicemen, they were then rescued. Number 3. Attacks on nuclear submarines. Throughout the 1970s, Ohio-class submarines were a pivotal part of America's nuclear triad, the land, air and sea delivery system for atomic weapons. The Cold War could have potentially escalated if it weren't for the Ohio class, which is still the biggest submarine ever created by the U.S. Navy, weighing 18,750 tons, 17,000 metric tons, and costing billions. While at sea, a few issues began to emerge with the subs. Broken sonar domes, electrical cables, sound probes and leaking oil lines. It was feared that Russia had developed particular technology that would be able to tamper with equipment without being detected. The cookie-cutter shark, measuring around 18 inches, 46 centimeters, is the true saboteur. Latching onto much larger prey, it removes lumps of flesh. The circular wounds left by the shark's bite mark have been known about for some time, with large fish like tuna often being pulled in by fishermen with these wounds. It was not until the 1970s that the stomach contents of the animal revealed the conical plugs of flesh it had taken from its prey. To protect their soft spots from the shark, submarines now use hard fiberglass housings. Number 2. HMS Brilliant fires on whales. In 1982, the British dispatched a naval fleet to the South Atlantic in order to defend their aircraft carriers during the Falklands War. The anti-submarine frigate HMS Brilliant was among the ships in the area, and the crew soon encountered a major issue: the presence of whales in the water. The whales' echoes on the sonar were often mistaken for submarines, leading to heightened tension on the boat. Consequently, the crew fired torpedoes, resulting in the deaths of 2 whales. Additionally, a helicopter launched from the ship killed a 3rd whale. Torpedoes were often fired in response to indications on the sonar that resembled those of submarines, but which could often be attributed to whales. This created problems not only with their sonar systems, but also with the ships themselves. In the first year of the campaign, one vessel ran into a whale and was forced to return for repairs due to damage done to its hull. Other ships sustained similar damage as a result of whale collisions. It was clear that whales were abundant in the area and had become an unfortunate casualty of war. Number 1. War on Orcas. It is almost unbelievable that until the 1970s, the U.S. Navy taught their divers to stay away from orcas under all circumstances, as it was believed they were aggressive and would attack humans. However, there is no proof that wild orcas have ever attacked a human before, despite being powerful predators that can even kill blue whales. This false impression of orcas likely arose from folklore and misconceptions. In 1956, the Icelandic government appealed to the U.S. Navy for help with the orcas that were depleting their herring fishery. The U.S. provided an anti-submarine air squadron that was fit with 50 caliber machine guns, aircraft rockets, and depth charges to combat the orcas. Similarly, in British Columbia, salmon fishermen lobbied their government to place heavy artillery guns on hills overlooking the inland waterways. Not until orcas were kept in captivity did we come to the realization that they were friendly and intelligent. Thanks for watching.